Imagine standing on the edge of the Indian Ocean at night. The sky is black. The waves are calm. The only sound is water hitting the side of a naval dock somewhere on India's coastline. Everything looks peaceful, quiet, almost too quiet. But deep under that same water, where sunlight cannot reach, something is moving without showing its face. No flag, no smoke, no warning. Just a silent machine built to disappear beneath the ocean and make powerful countries nervous. That is where India's new submarine story begins, not with loud speeches, not with fireworks, but with silence. The kind of silence that makes China look toward the Malacca Strait twice. The kind of silence that makes America pay attention to a country it can no longer treat as just a regional player. Because India is no longer only guarding its coastline. India is slowly turning the Indian Ocean into a place where every foreign navy has to think carefully before making a move. And the crazy part is, most people still don't understand what India is building. They hear submarine and think it is just another war machine. But no, this is bigger than that. A submarine is not just a vessel. It is a message. It says, "You may not see me, but I am here." It says, "You may enter this ocean, but you will never feel fully comfortable." And when a country like India starts building that kind of underwater power in one of the world's most important oceans, confirm, the whole game begins to change. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe, because on this channel, we don't just look at countries from the surface, we go under the map, behind the headlines, and into the real stories shaping the world. Like the video too, because today we are entering one of the most important waters on Earth, the Indian Ocean, where India, China, and America are all playing a very serious game. To understand why this matters, you first need to understand India's location. Look at the map, and you will see something powerful. India does not sit beside the Indian Ocean like a guest. India sits inside it like the main character. Its coastline stretches along the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and deep into the routes that connect the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, and East Asia. Oil moves through here. Trade moves through here. Military ships move through here. If the Indian Ocean had a heartbeat, India would be standing close enough to hear it. Now think about China. China depends heavily on sea routes that pass through the Indian Ocean, especially the routes connecting the Persian Gulf, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Chinese ships need these waters. Chinese energy security depends on these waters. Chinese trade depends on these waters. But here's the uncomfortable part for Beijing. India is sitting right there, watching the ocean like a landlord watching the gate. And near the eastern edge of this maritime world is the Malacca Strait, one of the most important choke points on the planet. For China, that narrow passage is not just a shipping route, it is a vulnerability. And India's island territories, especially the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, put India close to that pressure point. That is why India's submarine buildup is not random. It is not just about showing off, it is about geography, timing, and power. A surface ship can be seen, a submarine is different. A submarine creates doubt. Is it here? Is it behind us? Is it tracking us? Is it waiting? That doubt alone changes how other navies behave. And in military strategy, sometimes fear of the unseen is more powerful than the thing you can see. India's conventional submarines, like the Scorpion-class boats under Project 75, are part of this story. INS Bashir, the sixth submarine in that project, became a major symbol of India's growing submarine building ability. These submarines are designed for missions like anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, intelligence gathering, surveillance, and special operations. In simple English, they are built to hunt, hide, listen, and strike if needed. And because they are diesel-electric submarines, they are especially dangerous in coastal and regional waters where silence matters more than size. But the real nightmare begins when you move from conventional submarines to nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. That is where INS Arihant and INS Arigat enter the story. These are not just submarines. These are part of India's nuclear triad, the ability to launch nuclear weapons from land, air, and sea. The sea-based part is the most difficult to track because a submarine can vanish into the ocean. And once a country can keep part of its nuclear deterrent hidden underwater, it becomes much harder for any enemy to believe they can destroy it in one first strike. That is why INS Arigat's commissioning into 2024 was such a big moment. India was not just adding another vessel. It was strengthening the underwater leg of its deterrence. It was telling the world, even if you threaten us, even if you surround us, even if you try to pressure us, we still have a hidden answer beneath the sea. That changes the psychology of power. Now picture the Indian Ocean as a giant chessboard. China is expanding its navy. America already operates as a global naval superpower. Both countries care deeply about this ocean, but India is not standing outside the board anymore. India is placing pieces in the middle of it. Submarines near key sea lanes, naval bases along both coasts, island commands watching critical choke points, new warships and submarines coming from Indian shipyards. Slowly, the message becomes clear. The Indian Ocean is not an empty highway. It is India's strategic backyard. For China, this creates a serious headache. China's navy may be large, but operating far from home is not the same as operating near your own coastline. Every extra mile creates pressure. Fuel, supply, maintenance, surveillance, political risk. And when Chinese vessels enter the Indian Ocean, they are entering waters where India has geography on its side. India can watch from the mainland. India can watch from island territories. India can coordinate from ports and air bases much closer than China can. And underneath all of that, Indian submarines can make the water feel unsafe. This is where the nightmare becomes clear. A submarine does not need to fight to be effective. Sometimes it only needs to exist. If a Chinese commander suspects an Indian submarine is nearby, he must slow down, listen harder, deploy countermeasures, adjust route, and become cautious. That caution costs time. It costs confidence. It creates stress. And in a crisis, stress can shape decisions. But here's the twist. This is not only a China problem. America is watching too. Not because India is America's enemy, but because India is becoming too important to ignore. The United States has long been the dominant outside naval power across the Indo-Pacific. Its ships move through global waters with confidence. But a stronger India means the Indian Ocean is no longer just a space where outside powers operate freely. It is becoming a space where India's approval, India's posture, and India's interests matter more than ever. That makes India a partner, but also an independent power. And that independence is what makes Washington pay attention. India works with America in many areas, especially when both countries worry about China's rise. But India does not behave like a small ally waiting for instructions. India has its own history, its own security concerns, its own partnerships, and its own idea of strategic autonomy. So when India builds stronger submarines, America sees both an opportunity and a complication. Opportunity because a stronger India can help balance China. Complication because a stronger India will also make its own decisions. And that is what makes this story so interesting. India is not building underwater power just to impress anyone. It is building it because the Indian Ocean is becoming one of the most important arenas of the 21st century. The old world was about land borders and armies lined up across mountains. The new world is also about cables under the sea, oil tankers crossing narrow straits, naval drones, underwater tracking, and silent submarines that can change the balance without appearing on the evening news. Now, let's bring this closer to real life. Imagine a cargo ship carrying energy supplies through the Arabian Sea. Imagine another vessel moving from Africa toward Southeast Asia. Imagine a Chinese naval ship entering the Indian Ocean for a patrol. On the surface, it is just routine movement. But beneath that surface, the question remains: who is listening? Who is tracking? Who has the advantage? That invisible layer is where submarines become powerful. And India has a cultural relationship with the sea that many people forget. This is not a country that suddenly discovered the ocean yesterday. For centuries, Indian traders, sailors, coastal kingdoms, and port cities connected the subcontinent to Arabia, Africa, and Southeast Asia. From Gujarat to Kerala, from Tamil Nadu to Odisha, India's coastline has always been a gateway. The smell of salt, spices, diesel, fish markets, temple bells near the coast, shipyards waking up before sunrise, this maritime world has always been part of India's identity. Now, that old ocean memory is being converted into modern naval power. That is why many Indians feel pride when they see ships and submarines being built at home. It is not just metal, it is confidence. It is the feeling that India is no longer waiting for someone else to protect its waters. It is the feeling that when the world looks at the Indian Ocean, they must now look at India first. But there is also a deeper emotional layer here. For decades, India was often described as a developing country trying to catch up. But submarine building is one of the hardest things a nation can do. You need engineering, metallurgy, nuclear science, sonar systems, weapons integration, quiet propulsion, skilled workers, and years of testing. You cannot fake submarine power. You either have the capability or you do not. So, when India puts submarines into service, it tells a different story about the country. It says, India is not just growing in population or technology or economy. India is growing in strategic depth. And this is where China and America both face the same reality from different angles. China must deal with an India that can challenge its movement in the Indian Ocean. America must deal with an India that is friendly, useful, but increasingly independent. Both powers must adjust. Both must calculate. Both must respect the fact that the Indian Ocean is no longer a quiet background space. It is becoming a stage where India has a louder voice, even when that voice comes from something silent under the water. So when people say, India built a submarine nightmare, they are not saying India is about to start a war. That would be too simple. The real nightmare is strategic uncertainty. The nightmare is that no rival can enter India's ocean neighborhood and feel completely relaxed. The nightmare is that India can now hide power beneath the waves. The nightmare is that the next big move in Asia may not happen on land, but underwater. And maybe that is the most powerful part of this whole story. The Indian Ocean does not shout. It does not announce every secret it carries. It just moves, quietly, patiently, wave after wave. And somewhere beneath those waves, India is building a message the world can feel even when it cannot see it. For China, that message is, your sea routes are not untouchable. For America, that message is, India is not just a partner. India is a power. And for India, the message is even simpler. This ocean has our name on it, and we are finally acting like it. So next time you look at the Indian Ocean on a map, don't just see blue water. See trade routes, see islands, see hidden machines, see a rising power learning how to turn geography into strategy. Because the most important weapon in this story may not be the submarine itself. It may be the doubt it creates in everyone else's mind. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think India's rise in the Indian Ocean will make Asia more stable? Or will it make the competition with China and America even more dangerous? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories like this where geography, power, and hidden strategy collide, subscribe and stay with us, because the next video goes even deeper into the country changing the balance of Asia without asking for permission.